Hello, everyone, and welcome to Backwoods Banter, presented by Lowkey Country. I'm your host, Country with Celine, alongside my co-host, Zach in Country, and we are pleased to welcome Zach McPhee to the podcast. Zach, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Happy to have you here. So let's kind of just dive in to you. Like, you kind of just came out into the country music scene within this year. It's not like it's been something that's been brewing over 5 years or 6 years. It's kind of, you just kind of took off this year. So I want to talk more about that. Was country music something that you always wanted to pursue and you just kind of thought maybe I should pursue it like later in life, or like what's this backstory there with this one?
Yeah, so I guess from the start, I grew up in Vernon, BC, and I actually got introduced to singing. I had a really bad speech impediment growing up, so I had a really bad stutter, and I ended up going to speech therapy for about 4 or 5 years straight of my like upbringing through probably the ages of like 8 to 13. And through that, my speech therapist, one of the techniques that was used was he would get me to sing my phrases and stuff. Like it would help kind of flow sentences together. So I kind of got introduced to like singing and phrasing that way. And then it kind of turned into, I come from a very musical family. My mom grew up singing in a choir. My dad played in a band. So the guitar got passed down in teachings from him to my older brother Alex, and then Alex ended up teaching me. And then through playing hockey, I played hockey throughout my whole life. Ended up being fortunate enough to play some junior hockey. I went to university in Saskatchewan and played hockey there while doing my schooling. And then I've always had a knack or kind of love for storytelling. So through like like English classes and all of that kind of stuff, I always found creative writing really cool and something I kind of took to. So I turned that into more music, and then country was always kind of in the background. I grew up listening to a lot of like the Rocks, like the Eagles, and then my brother introduced me, usually take on your siblings kind of musical taste too. So it was like there was a few years where it was like Jimmy Eat World and like those bands, and then it kind of navigated towards like bands and artists that I really started to pay attention to, like the John Mayers, Damien Rice, and then country got introduced to me through another buddy I played hockey with. And the first country song I heard was Red Dirt Road by Brooks and Dunn. And from that point on, I had a totally different view of what country was, because growing up, we didn't have it a lot in the house. But as soon as I heard that song, I started to like dig in deeper and try and find these artists, and it kind of expanded from there to the point where it's all I have on all the time. And it's great because over the years, just playing it in my dad's truck or like on like subtle trips, they were never big country listeners growing up either. And now I get in their car, always on Sirius 56, the highway. Like it's just they tell me almost more about country and like artists and different songs to like cover and stuff now than I do for them. So it's completely flipped. So that's kind of the backstory and how I got into it. And it's just got to the point now where I'm fortunate enough to be able to record, write, and kind of take this journey in the early stages.
Well, country music is, just saying, it's the best genre out there. I'm sure we can
100%.
all agree on that, right, Zach?
Of
We got
course.
two Zach.
100%.
So you kind of mentioned at the very end there, getting into the covers and stuff. You've been putting covers on Instagram on your page for about 2016, 2017. What made you this year, when you put out your first song, what made you start releasing your own music?
Yeah, so the covers was kind of just something to get my name out there. I think for me, I wanted to have hockey kind of I don't want to say in the background, but I wanted to finish that chapter and then really be able to come back home. I'm living in Kelowna now, but I wanted to come back home and be able to put that chapter kind of in the past and then really dive in and focus on releasing stuff and being in the frame of mind to really give it, an 100% shot. I feel like it's an industry that you can't tiptoe in. Like if you're gonna do it, you got to do it. You got to commit to it. You got to be able to play shows and like interact, properly. And I think that goes a long way. So the covers were, again, just to try to like get a feel for what the vibe was with different genres as well. Like I went from singing like some pop stuff, like when I used to have hair, I used to do like the Justin Bieber covers, and then it kind of went to more like alternative, like the 1975 Dean Lewis, and then I started to post some country covers, and then those are the ones that I found had the most traction to them. And then through that process as well was when I kind of deep dove more into the country sounds artists and all that stuff. So I finally found in January when I first put out Bring On that it was one, like the right time for me. I felt like that was a song I was really confident in. And I knew I had about 2 or 3 others to come out after that too. So it wasn't going to be like one song and then I got to scramble now to try and write more. So just kind of being in the right place, getting introduced to the right producers as well, through Mark Hedlund, who I got to know about a year ago, which is crazy. He ended up introducing me to Dan Botch and Garrett Ward of the Renaissance Productions. So they're out of Vancouver. And once I had my first initial chat and kind of phone call with them, I knew instantly that they were perfect. Perfect guys to kind of take the project on. So it's kind of evolved from there, but a lot of it was timing, and again, just really knowing that this was a time in my life when I can pursue it to 100%.
They're a talented duo. They're
Oh
really
man,
so
crazy.
good. Dan and Garrett are so good. Now let's talk about your writing process. So I feel like with a bunch of artists, it's so different. Either they write about personal experience, or they're talented enough where they can put themselves in someone else's shoes and kind of write in that perspective. How do you go about your writing process?
Yeah, so I'm kind of the latter. Like I was mentioning before, like I've always taken to the creative writing storytelling side. So it's, man, music is such a funny thing, and like lyrics and like trying to tell a story, it can come from anywhere. Like it can come from like conversations where you hear like somebody use a phrase. And so for example, in my song Denver, I had a buddy who was playing hockey down in the States, and he came back and we were having beers, and he was just like, man, isn't it crazy how like some stranger can just like steal your heart like that?
Oh, wow.
So that, like, just like something like that always just stuck with me. So when I went into writing that song, I already had kind of that key phrasing, and then I built the song around it. So kind of where the song would take place, kind of the story of it. And the same thing for Girl Like You, which Mark ended up doing, and he made it his own, and it was fantastic. But I was having, again, just another conversation, and it was with a guy who was just like, man, I just, want somebody who's chill, doesn't have to always be like done up, can wear her hair up or down. And I was just like, okay, so there's another phrase for catch. So it just kind of comes out of hearing things, seeing things. Yeah, and then from there, just laying down the guitar pattern, I think, to kind of fit the style. So that's kind of how I've always wrote. But it's also nice to do collaborations with other artists, right? Because they have a totally different perspective where I would probably not think of some certain things that would come up. So yeah, that's kind of, long story short, it's usually just stuff I hear.
Yeah, definitely. That you kind of led me right into my next question. I noticed you have some solo rights and then you have rights with Mark and collaboration rights, like you mentioned. Kind of a two-parter. What's the biggest difference you would say between writing a song by yourself and then versus writing with one, two, three people? And then the second part, if you had a dream person to collab on a writing, who would you write with?
Oh man. Okay. So first part to that, it took me a while, and I think it's something I'm trying to get better at. But when like for me, I've kind of always wrote on my own up until, this project kind of started.
Mhm.
Probably, yeah, it would have been September 2022. Um, and it's a weird headspace to get into when you go into a room with another artist when you haven't done it before, because it's like, are they going to think your ideas are absolute garbage? Are they going to think, this isn't the right fit? Or am I going to get along kind of with this person? Are our styles going to blend? So there's a lot that kind of, in that initial first couple writes that I did with other artists, it was a little bit unknown territory. But I think the biggest thing is just being open, like just having, you obviously have to raise your voice on what you think sounds good. And I think that comes also with respect and time and learning how to like give and take with certain songs. But I also think for me, having the openness to be willing to take something that I wouldn't normally do and put it into a perspective that I feel comfortable with. So, um, for example, when I was doing Whiskey Burns, Mark and I collabed on the second verse because I felt like it needed something different. And Mark is more, I would say, in a pop, upbeat tempo kind of country genre, where I am very singer-songwriter country.
Mhm.
So to get his perspective, I was at first a little taken back when I sat down with it and started playing with it and kind of pitching it to friends and family on, this is the second verse. Everybody's like, it's great. It's different than what you would normally do, but I think it's something that you need. So I think at times, especially athletes, we can be a little bit stubborn in our ways.
Yeah, sure.
And so just having the openness to be able to see a creative process in a different way.
Well, speaking of new songs, you have a new song that just got released. How are you feeling? Feels country to me. Take us through the whole song and how excited you are to have that out there.
Yeah, it's been great. Feels Country to Me is the title track for an upcoming EP as well, which is kind of a sneak peek that I haven't really put out. So there's a kind of hot take. So this will come out. Yeah, the EP will be released on September 15th. So Feels Country to Me will be the title track, and yeah, again, it was a collab with Mark and myself. He actually had the lyrics pretty much, I'd say, 95% done. He came up to visit me in Kelowna about a month or two ago, and ended up kind of playing the song. And I was like, man, like, I think this is a song that I really was drawn towards, as far as the phrasing, as far as what I heard in the sound. Um, so I just really wanted to see if he'd be willing to let me do it. And he was like, 100% totally cool. Um, I ended up wanting to do a song I felt like sounds a little bit earlier 2000, mid 2000s kind of country production. So again, taking it down to Dan and Garrett, they give me total creative control, and they were like, let's do it, let's try it. So I'm super pumped. I think it's a really good storytelling song about there's different things in life that can feel country to people, whether it's, you have a pair of boots, or, maybe it's more family oriented, which the song kind of leans towards. And so just kind of remembering certain things growing up and through your kind of development process on what you look back on that felt country to you. So I'm super excited. I couldn't be more proud of the song and how it turned out.
And I just want to take it back a little bit because you said something and it stuck with me. EP, September 15th. So I
Yeah.
want to know, what are there other songs you have like that you haven't released yet that are going to be on this release or with this EP, or is it going to be a bunch of songs that you already have? You're just going to package it up and put it out there?
Yeah, so it will be the singles that have came out. So it'll consist of Bring On Denver, Say Goodbye, Whiskey Burns, Feels Country, which just came out. And then there are two other ones that will be on it as well. So it'll be a total of 7 songs. Um, so yeah, it'll be super fun. I'm excited. It's my first body of work that I've like kind of put out, and it's been crazy. Like again, this journey started for me in January, so to have an EP come out now in like a 7-month kind of time period, or 6 months, or however long it's been, and it feels like 2 weeks, so I don't even know sometimes. But I'm super excited. Yeah, I'm super happy with the project, how everything's turned out. So I'm excited for everybody to hear it.
We're excited for you.
Definitely looking forward to it.
Oh, thank you.
Another question I have with the new music, you have a couple songs out now, playing shows live. Is it, you doing some covers, I'm sure. What's it like playing your own songs and, you seeing people sing back? How's that feel when that happens in the moment?
Yeah, I had like my first taste of somebody singing my music back to me. I played at kind of a Stampede kickoff party about 3 weeks ago now, and it was at the National on 8th Rooftop. And while I was playing Denver, I saw out of the corner of my eye there were 2 or 3 people who were singing the words, and it was kind of one of those moments where you don't want to stop and say thank you halfway through the song. But in my head, I was just like, man, that's cool, right? That's like the first moment where you realize, okay, people are, playing your stuff kind of routinely enough to know this song inside and out. So yeah, it's been super fun. It's been fun to play originals as well as some covers, and just kind of see the feedback from people. But yeah, I'm trying to play live any chance that I get, and just interact with people and stuff. So it's been fun.
Well, your music is getting put on lots of editorial playlists. So that must be so amazing to see. And that's obviously why lots of people are finding out about you and they're singing your songs. And Denver is an amazing song. It
Oh,
is,
thank you.
it's really good. It's really catchy too. But now kind of speaking about performances, we still have the rest of the summer to go. So is there anything that you're looking forward to playing coming up within the near future?
Yeah, I have. I'm gonna be playing at the Roxy for an EP release that Mark is doing there, and so that'll be on September 10th, I believe. Um, Other than that, there's a couple local shows at Redbird Brewery, that is an awesome music venue in Kelowna towards the end of August. Just kind of confirming those dates. I actually just played a show in Cache Creek 2 days ago as well. So yeah, there's tons on the go. I'm just trying to write and just trying to get as much content as I can going. So busy summer for sure.
That's exciting though. We love to have
Oh,
a
it's
busy
great.
summer. Yeah.
100%. I wouldn't change it.
And then the EP again in September 15th to be exact. It's going to be
Yeah.
an exciting rest of the year for you. It really is, Zach. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us on the Backwoods Banter podcast presented by Lowkey Country. I'm your host, Celine Schmarkey, Country with Celine, and Zach from Zach in Country. And Zach McPhee. There's so many Zachs here right now. I should just name myself Zach too. Zach McPhee, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate having you.
Thank you guys for all the support, and I appreciate it. Yeah, I look forward to chatting soon.